What? Well, I's here. And I'm by myself right now, that is. So we will see who will tune in. Got a few things I'd like to talk about today, and we'll see who pops by. Okie dokie. Let's see. All right, so let me see. Live chat. Participants. Number one, who is there? Say something. Let me know you are alive. What's going on? Who are you? Say hello. Two, say hello. Say what's up. Let me know what's going on in your world, because a whole heck of a lot is going on in mine. Got some things I'd like to talk about. Talk, that's how we say it in New York. Talk, like to talk about. So say hello in the comments, okay? Got a lot to talk about today. All right. 4. And then there were 4. Say hello. Okay, let me see. Pop out chat. Pop out chat. The pop out chat thingy. Restore chat. Nothing to see here. Okay. Guys gotta learn. I got a thumbs up. And I got 6 people. Talk to me, people. John 415. Hello, John. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. And who else other than John is in the house? And just tell me how your week was and what you're up to musically, if anything. I'm interested. You know, Star Studio. Hello, brother. Hey, man. How are you? How are you? Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you stopping by. In the chat, tell me what you're up to musically before I get the blabbing, because I got a lot that's happening on my end. Hi, should I EQ as I track? Ian, first, thank you for stopping by. Let me not forget my manners. Thank you for stopping by. Should I EQ as I track? It depends. You ask 100 people, you probably get 100 different answers. It depends on a number of things. First of all, what are you tracking? Let's follow that up with that question. If you could tell me what you're tracking, then I could probably more intelligently tell you how I would approach it and with what microphone, okay? And my preference is to not EQ. I prefer to EQ, and that's both. Drums, oh yeah. If it's drums and you got a decent EQ, sure, absolutely. Let nobody fool you. The drums that you hear on the record are not like the drums as they sound in the studio. Drums are one of the most processed instruments in the acoustic, from an acoustic standpoint in the rhythm section. Yeah, to get them to sound right requires a whole lot of moving parts. First being the wood type that you're using, birch versus maple versus mahogany. They all have different tones. Whether or not the drums have a certain type of bearing edge. You know, it's a drum machine. Oh, drum machine. They already processed then. You know, if it's a drum machine, drum samples are already processed. But if you're recording acoustic drums, then yes. You might want to just give it a little touch of EQ just to find a sweet spot in the drum itself. How do you like the warm bus comp? I love it. I love it. It's in the box right now. Somebody had asked me, oh, wow, you're sending it back. No, I'm not sending it back. It's in the box because I'm in transition. I'm in the middle of a project that I'll get into in a minute with you guys. In addition to that, the studio is going through some major changes in terms of my room. I'm trying to find the rack space for it. You know, there's a certain, I'm changing my workflow. And this is going to be part of how I'm changing my workflow. And the workflow going forward will include me using a help me, folks, summing mixer. A summing mixer. Do you use it on your mix bus? Yes, that was the primary function for it. Excuse me if I'm fiddling because I'm taking care of some other things as well. But that was the primary purpose and function of the bus comp for me, is always to use it on the mix bus. To answer a question that I got from someone the last few days, his thing was he didn't know how it sounded because of the example that I had put up, and I'm like, actually, you're not supposed to hear it. You know what I mean? I had mentioned, I think, a few live streams ago that I was mastering Dolores Bowman's record with a mastering engineer. His name is Duncan Stanberry. You can look him up at Frankfurt Wayne Mastering, and he was using the Tube Tech, and it was on this particular song where he hit the transformers real hard and they saturated, and I didn't particularly care for it, but the client did, you know. So if you want to hit this thing hard, you're going to get character out of it. But it depends on what you're using it for. You know, if you're using it on drums, you know, and you want that transformer saturated sound, you could probably hit it hard and get that. You know, I preferred not to. You know, and then the example I was trying to give it the example of being used just for bus compression purposes only, to control the dynamics for when you're going for mastering for iTunes, you know. So that was the initial purpose rather, for me demonstrating it in the previous couple of videos the way I did. What summing amp am I looking at? You know, I was going back and forth. I was just about to purchase the NEVE 8816 because I really like it. Had every bit of function that I needed to. My flow going forward, I'm coming back into using like a 2-track system. I'm going out of Pro Tools into a mastering rig, out of the mastering rig into a 2-channel unit, not returning back into Pro Tools. I was thinking about using a Tascam DA 3000, the high-end it's like a hard disk recorder, you know, because I'm getting going forward. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be released on iTunes, and they have a certain specification that you must meet, you know, and that is the purpose of the mastering engineer. And now everybody's coming to me, and you know, whereas I used to use a mastering engineer in the past, they're like, can you mix and master as well as track it for me? So, you know, I've learned a thing or two by having friends of mine who were mastering engineers over the years. So as long as I know the spec of where it's going, be it Spotify or iTunes, I have everything I need, and I could do light mastering for someone if I wanted to, you know. So that's my flow going forward. Out of Pro Tools into a dedicated mastering chain, out of the mastering chain back into a high def recorder, and at 192K or up. Because what you got to remember is that you know, they're going to truncate, and there's some processing that has to take place on iTunes end. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, the higher resolution you provide to them, the less you'll lose on the back end. You know, you can't just, you know, some people, if you listen to some tracks by some folks, they sound a little thin because they came right out maybe and went back in at 48K. Maybe 96K, you know, but you could tell whether or not, other than volume wise, how clear, you know, a track is in terms of processing, in terms of just overall clarity, and matching it against other tracks in that genre, whether or not it was mastered properly. And that's what I've been really examining you know, on a higher level. And most of my peers that I've reached out to, that everybody's coming out of the box, folks. Don't let nobody fool you. That's the little dark secret that's out there. Everybody thinking, okay, you can bounce out and return it back into Pro Tools, and oh, my master's going off to iTunes, and it will hold up. Nah, man. Summing is the way to go. You know, because the clarity of your stereo mix is collapsing. You know, the more information you're putting through that Pro Tools mixer. I don't care what anyone says. I know I've sat behind a console, and I know, you know, I'm returning to some old recordings that I even did on 8-track. Okay, 8-track half-inch, and I'm still getting this front to back depth that I'm not getting from an HD system. So, you know, I know what's missing. So I'm going to return to the old method, see what works, and I'll report back. But the dangerous summing mixer seems to be on the horizon for me. I'm not certain whether I'm going to go with the new 2 bus that's out that has the insert chain in it, so it'll eliminate me having to daisy chain things, or whether or not I'm just going to you know, come out daisy chain out and return back into the high def recorder. So let's see. Armando, my brother, hermano, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué tal? Thanks for help on my 500 series rack. Absolutely, brother. Anytime, man. Anytime. Hit a brother up. You know, if you have any questions you want to ask me, sure. I'm open. Just reach out, brother. Reach out. Star Studios, what do you think about the 3-way monitors in Cali Audios? Hey, I'm telling you, man, they you know, they're becoming big players, man. People are sleeping on these small companies, man. These new companies that are popping up with products, Cali stuff is pretty nice. Somebody turned me on to it, and yeah, I heard them, and I was like stunned. They're quite a rising star, most definitely. John, I like the Burrow Audio B32 Vancouver. I've heard it, but I don't know. You know, I don't know. Price versus performance with the Burrow. I don't know. I guess I would have to, you know, just like I did when I was buying my first set of high-end monitors. I took a day. I went to a pro audio shop, Dale Pro, and I sat with material that I was familiar with. So just like, you know, with the summing, I'm glad that Sweetwater and other places have a 30-day return policy, because I know what my ears want to hear. You know, I know what a 2-track master sounds like, you know, from the way I used to do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hold something up for y'all. Check this out. Speaking of 2-track masters, I've told you the studio's in transition, but check this out. This thing weighs a metric ton. Okay, here we go. Don't get a hernia. Look at her. Look at her in all of her glory. So this is how I used to master on a 2-channel recorder. Oh God, this thing is weighs a metric ton. It's a Tascam 32, but I used to come out 24 tracks of ADAT, and before DAT machines came in, she was the workhorse. And I'm about to put her in storage, and I'm gonna have her restored. She hasn't seen any action since like about 2008. But yeah, so I'm used to doing it that way. And I know that there's a consistency and a clarity that you get when you come out of the box. You know, so if I could break out 16 channels into a mastering chain into a 2-channel high def recorder, which I suggest you guys start looking into. You know, the Tascam, I think it's the DA3000. You know, Al Schmidt uses it. It's a lot of people that they want you to believe they're working in a particular way, and they got this little sound that's like, oh snap, I like the way you sound. Yeah, they're coming out of the box. Going into some high quality converters into this high def recorder at 192K, and then they send the master off that way. I mean, you can't beat that. Can you explain how you use noise gates, especially on kicks and snares? Um, you know, and then I'm going to get to Alvalon Major. I was just about to ask you about the DA3000. I'm going to get to your statement, Al Avon Major, and then Ian. Gates on kicks and snares. If you're using now how am I going to explain this? Gates were necessary back in the day if you were recording a drum kit with a lot of open mics and you wanted to minimize bleed between the microphones. However, if you know how to mic a drum kit, bleed can be your friend. Because I'm working on it. I've been doing a lot of acoustic music lately, and I'm mixing acoustic drums, which as a drummer I should know how. But you know, you don't want to get gate crazy, because an improperly sounding gate, an improperly set gate can chatter. You know, you're gonna have chatter because maybe when you hit the snare and you on 2 and 4, boom, the pat, boom, the pat, and maybe the ring, the sympathetic ring that you get from the tom might trigger the gate. You know, so gates were necessary on, like, if you were on the SSL and you were micing a drum kit, these gates, or these here that I have, like the valleys, the keypex and gate X's, they were quick. I mean, they reacted fast. They had very good VCAs in them, so they could react quickly and you wouldn't get chatter. But some of the cheaper brands like Schematics and other companies, nah, man. If they had poor VCAs in them, then you would get gate chatter, which is going to compromise the drum sound. So rule of thumb is, if you're close miking a kit, you start with your overheads, kick, snare, or the kick snare. And from the snare's perspective, as long as you keep your overheads left and right in phase with the snare and the kick drum, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Every microphone that is close mic'd is going to be your friend, because they're only going to react, you know, when you hit the particular tom or snare, or if you're close miking ride cymbals and things of that nature. You know, so you'll be fine. You know, as long as you have a good phase relationship with your overheads and the kick and snare, you know, by making sure that you don't have any phase cancellations, you'll be okay. You don't need gates, because all those open mics are your friends. You know, as long as you take out, you know, do a little equalization from a room node, you know, perspective. That's a whole other topic with regards to recording drums. But yeah, that's the best advice I could give. Avoid gating like crazy if you can, because you're going to get chatter. Now, in your case, you were talking about drum machines. It's a different thing. It's probably pre-gated. You know, you don't need to concern yourself with that if you're using samples. But if you're using live drums, then yes. So the DA3000, yes, that's what we're talking about. That Tascam high definition recorder. Go listen. If you could pick one up on eBay, I think you could get the 3000s for next to nothing pretty much right now, and get into the habit of recording at 192K. Because I'm gonna tell you, unless you have a high powered computer system, or if you're not running Pro Tools HD, anybody wants to weigh in and tell me how you could successfully record at 192K, those files are huge. Let me know, because and even at 96K, I'm noticing that the sessions are kind of large. You know, so if you got to transfer sessions between places, then it becomes like crazy in terms of file management. But if you're coming out of Pro Tools, going into a dedicated recorder with really good converters that can record at 192, you're in business. I'm telling you, try it. If you can rent it from a friend, or if you know someone that has one, just try coming out of Pro Tools, going into that machine, if you can, through a summing mixer, and you tell me what you hear. I'm telling you, you're going to hear stuff as you've never heard it before. And that's what's missing with me. I mean, the proof is, they say, is in the pudding. You know what I mean? And I'm recording a lot of acoustic music. When you put an acoustic instrument up, it doesn't lie. That tells you everything you need to know about everything in your chain, from the mics to the preamps to how it's mastered. Plugins are not always the answer. You know, I know Waves got everybody strung out on buying plugins, but I mean, 99.999% of the time, I'm using the Digi stuff. Why? It works. Second, the last time I bought my system, I paid tens of thousands of dollars to Avid, and I bought all these plugins which never get used. I think out of the plugin bundle that I have, maybe I'll use the Massenburg Works EQ, and maybe, no, definitely I always use the TL Space Reverb because I like that particular reverb program. But beyond that, you ain't getting me strung out on them Waves plugins, man, because it's a brand new day. As long as your computer can keep up, you'll be fine, you know. And if you're coming out of the box, I'm telling you, you do it one time, come out of the box, or either go into a second computer or a laptop, come out of your main recorder, go through maybe a dedicated converter like an Apogee into your laptop, and you A/B a bounced out file versus what you recorded on your laptop. You're gonna be stunned at what you hear. Okay, can you do another WA73 versus Heritage 73 video and speak the words? Thanks. Okay, I think I said this before. Greg, thanks. Gregory, thanks. My best friend that I grew up with, his name is, so I called you Greg out of habit. But preamps are tools. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. I like both. People have scorched my rear end about the WA73 versus the Heritage. They are both built well. It's just that the reason why I went with the Warm is the build was better in terms of what is inside the preamp. Bloors Edwards potentiometers. I mean, I'm nerding out on you right now, but I'm opening up the guts and seeing what you put inside. And if you've been around recording for any length of time, and I have, your stuff got to be able to hold up. Your equipment got to be, you can't be like the client shows up and your stuff suddenly, oh, excuse me, the EQ's on. Oh, I'm trying to find. You ain't got no time for excuses if your stuff drops out. You know, so when I opened up the Warm and then I opened up the HA7, the Heritage, I was like, Warm seemed like it was a better build. It had features that I needed, like mic inputs on the front. If I wanted to do remote work, which I do on occasion, you got to pull the rig up and you got to go, and maybe you don't have time to get in the back of the unit. You want to be able to plug in the front, go. Time is money. If you're a pro, you ain't got no time to be finagling, scratching your head, wondering, oh snap, the mids ain't working. You ain't got no time for that, man. You know, so I mean, if you're in a working situation, so that's why I went with Warm. I opened it up, I looked, the guts were better. Does that make Heritage less? No. If you like Heritage, go for it. But if you got your stuff up for 8, 9, 10 hours, 12, 13-hour days, you better make sure that it can hang. The Heritage things felt a little flimsy. I can get heavy-handed at times. Next thing you know, I'm yanking the daggone thing will snap, and then in front of the client, they're like, well, what kind of crap you buying? Did the damn knob thing came off? Come on. So, I mean, I don't have time. You know, time is money for me. You know, and I got to look at how you building your stuff. They put everything on a single PCB. A single PCB, which means you got the pots soldered to the board. If you keep snatching and yanking and snatching and yanking and snatching and yanking, it's going to loosen the solder points. It's going to, over time, it's going to happen. Just out of wear and tear. I've had that happen. So, I mean, it doesn't make heritage less. If you're doing this as a hobby, you can go for heritage, you can go for warm, you can go for art. I said this in a rant video not too long ago. It doesn't make a difference. But if you got somebody putting money in your pocket to keep your lights on, you better make sure your equipment can hang. Because if your stuff is going out, trust me, they're going to be walking out the door. Don't go to this guy because, yo, every time I go to his place, something's wrong with his equipment. Bad news travels fast. Bad news travels fast. So, I mean, yes, that was the reason why I went with warm. That didn't make one better than the other. For me, preamp is too. Listen, I've made recordings on. You've seen this little 2-track recorder, 1/4 inch. It wasn't even 2-track 1/2 inch. You know, so I mean, it gets back to the music that you're recording. Never mind the tech. Never mind the tech. I used to be like that when I was younger. Excuse me, rubbing my nose. I think, okay, well, if I record this song on 24 tracks, it's going to have a magical. No, it's about the song. It's about what you're putting in. It's about musicianship. You know what I mean? You can record the best. Bruce Springsteen, I think, when he was in contractual problems with his label, he recorded one of his albums on a 4-track Porter Studio. Great songwriter. So it gets back to the song, bro. You know, I mean, you could make a record on anything, and I have on just about anything. So, you know, whatever your budget is, you know what I mean? Whatever the functionality is going to serve you well and serve the client well, that's what you buy. And for me, the warm is what served me well. Okay. Greg deal. Same words. What do you mean? Same words. Oh, thanks, Warren. Okay. Booyah. Thoughts and opinions on the warm mic clones, especially the WA2. Oh, snap. I'm going to tell you, man. I'll give you a little story. Okay. Once, when I was a youngster, I went to Battery Studios in Lower Manhattan near Battery Park. Where Battery Park City, if you go on Google, beautiful condo resort. There was a studio down there called Battery Sound. And it was a late night, man. We were in there like about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was with Angela Frederick, beautiful vocalist out of South Jersey. And we were recording with Laurel Frederick, who is you look him up, Laurel is nasty keyboard player. Anyway, we were all tired, slouched out, and the engineer put up the Neumann U47. Now, if you've seen the Vintage 47, you know how big these things are. And we were all slouched on the back, in the control room in the back, just relaxing. And when she began to sing, it was like, oh my God, an angel dropped out of heaven. It was like between that and he used a Lexicon PCM 70. The board that we used was a Euphonics, and I think he used just the regular preamps that was in the Euphonics at the time. I'm saying that to say this. Warm has nailed the sound of classic microphones, both from the U47, the 87, which I have to a degree, and that 251. The Telefunken 251, which is another one of my favorite microphones. One thing I want you guys to understand, and I'm saying all that about that experience because it was literally euphoric. We woke up, was like, oh my God, literally, what mic are you using? And that's the effect you're going to have when you're using that 251 as well as that warm 47. Why? Guys, understand this. A schematic is a schematic. You know, it's a blueprint as to how you build something. Now, you could build something with crappy componentry on the inside, or you could build something with really great componentry on the inside. Will it be the same as the original? No. Why? Because older microphones are burned in over time. These components have gone through voltages over time. So quite naturally, it's going to have a different tone. But buy this microphone, this 251 and that 47, and let's talk again. If I'm alive, Jesus tarries, and nothing happens to me. Let's talk again in 10 years. Tell me how you like it. Warm has mastered reverse engineering schematics. It's that simple. A resistor is a resistor unless you're buying a cheap one. A capacitor is a capacitor unless you're buying cheap components and capacitors going into your stuff. Diodes are diodes unless you're buying quality ones by Texas Instruments or some other. I'm geeking out again. So you got to know what's inside your equipment. It's going to make the difference whether or not it's of quality build or not. Which is why the bus comp is going to ravage the mixed bus industry right now. Why? Because of what he put inside. It's that simple. It's not complicated. Folks with their brand loyalty complicate it. You know, can I afford a $15,000 classic Telefunken to 47 U47, which is the first builders before Neumann made them? No. Would I buy one now? No, because they cost a buttload to maintain. They're very delicate microphones. They're over 50 years old. The 251, no. There's about $10,000 in the used market. So this young man has come along, looked at the schematic, the actual schematic, and said, let me buy all the parts in bulk and build the same thing. It's the purists who hate this guy. But anyone with common sense knows that if you could get the curve of the Telefunken and the curve of the U47 to be somewhat close, you got a winner. And he's gotten a winner out of these two microphones. So yes, it's a good investment. You hold on to these things over time because you know how they sound. He has gotten very close. Every time I hear that 47, you know, every time I hear that 47, I don't own one yet. I'm going to buy one at some point. But every time I hear that 47, I'm like, he's really gotten into the neighborhood of what this thing sounds like. Because I remember that experience. I'm not talking about stuff off the top of my head, like, comparing them. I'm talking about me sitting in Battery Studios on that day with Laurel Frederick and Andrew Frederick. And we, at 3 o'clock in the morning, being half asleep, listening to mixed playbacks. And she's going to do an overdub. And then she pops up with this. He puts up this particular microphone and she says, yes, try it. We're asleep. And boom, she sings. And it's like, oh my God. It was literally an oh my God moment. So I remember that. So quite naturally, that's the bar by which I measure everything. And when I hear that 251 and when I hear that 47, I'm like, he got it. He got it. So, you know, proof, as they say, is in the pudding. I would say if you buy it, you don't like it, send it back. It's not going to be for everyone. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, over time, as this microphones, the capsules begin to age, and as the components begin to age, it's going to take on a character that you are going to so love, man. So, you know, go for it. My brother from Greece. How are you, bro? Thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate you. You know, so tell me what you're into, Nikos. Tell me what you're into, and let's talk. Let's have a discussion. And then I'm gonna get into the reason why I'm live streaming, because I got to share some stuff. But I want to answer some questions first. Star Studios asks, is it possible to summing my tracks out of the box using an analog mixer? Yes. Yes, such as the Tascam 24, yes. Allen and Heath Zen, yes. Or Soundcraft, yes. Will you get a wide image with good quality? Yes. Here's why. Excuse me for burping. When I first started with Pro Tools, I used to use it as a multi-track recorder. And I have some tracks that I've been trying to get my DAT out of storage so I could compare them to my summing mixer for when I finally sit down. But see, you're in a mixer, in the actual mixer, right? You have a channel strip. Starts out with the preamp, followed by a whole lot of other stuff. And if you crack open the inside of any Pro mixer, if you take out a channel, you'll see that there's a ribbon cable that you can pop out. If you had to service just that channel, you pop out the ribbon, send the channel off for repair or whatever. All of those little individuals, like the aux sends area of the track, the EQ sections of the track, all of that is going to a certain area within the componentry of the mixing board itself. Analog voltages, not zeros and ones. I know Pro Tools has gotten better. I'm not saying that Pro Tools is not good, but I'm telling you, if you take those same tracks, break them out, if you get a chance, break them out into a board and do a mix outside of the box and compare the in the box to out the box mix. There's going to be a difference. Sonically, there's going to be a difference, provided a few things. You do all of your processing as well. That is EQing, that is reverberation, as well as maybe a 2-bus mix coming out. If you treat everything out of the box into a 2-channel recorder, do the same thing, the same exact mix in the box, and compare. There's no comparison. One is zero and ones, the other is voltages. There's a difference. And that's what I'm missing. Maybe my ears are old. You know, I was talking to one of my young assistants, and I was like, you know what? You guys don't have the same point of reference that I have. You know, my point of reference was sitting behind a board. So I want to get back to that because I know there's something, it's the front and back that's missing. I'm not getting this. Every time I get close, you know, but I'm not getting that. And I've done a few recordings. I mean, of course, there's a lot of other elements that go into it, but you're going to have a sonic difference because that same busing that takes place with voltages in a mixing console is 0 and 1s in Pro Tools. So you have a lot of processing for returns, reverb returns. You have processing for the mix bus. You have processing for busing of drums or busing of keyboard tracks. You know, you have a lot that the computer has a lot to worry about if you start creating this Mondo mixer in Pro Tools. You're giving the computer a lot to worry about. You know, so I know it's gotten better, but for my ears, I don't think it's exactly there. That's just my opinion, you know. So yes, you will experience a difference in sonic goodness. That's for sure. Have you gotten a chance to use the SE Electronics Rupert Neve thing with all of his Neve circuitry? Going back, $2,500 saving money for grabbing the W251. I don't know. You know, I know. The new Neve stuff is well intentioned, but if you're looking for that old school Neve girth, and you want something that's going to have a lot of width and pre-equalization for your concerns, you're talking about a microphone. If you want that pre-EQ'd sound, if you're using it for vocals, if you're recording acoustic guitars, I would go with a pre-EQ'd mic like the 251 or the WA-47 because it's pre-EQ'd. Even the Lewitt, that Lewitt 440 Pure, that's a very affordable microphone that's kicking behind right now. You know what I mean? I used it last couple of weeks on a couple of sessions, so I'm quite impressed with that Lewitt audio microphone. So you can check those out. And again, buy it from a dealer where if you don't like it, you can return it. You don't like it? I don't like it. Send it back. It's your money. You should be able to be happy with what you're spending your money on. You don't want to spend an inordinate amount of money and then you're like, okay. No, I mean, those days are over, man. Those days are over. So I would say what you should do, buy it from a reputable dealer, use it in your environment. You like it, you keep it. You don't like it, back it goes until you find exactly what you like. See, like I said, nowadays, the days of being able to go into a pro audio shop are gone. Gone. Sweetwater has obliterated the retail ability of any pro audio shop. I used to go to Dale Pro Audio. What was he? Manny's in Manhattan. They had a pro audio shop, Sam Ash Professional. All these places I used to go to and be able to sit down and spend time with the equipment I'm about to buy. You can't do that no more. So how can someone deny you the chance to send something back that's not meeting your expectation? Send it back. You don't like it, send it back. You got the money to spend, buy both. A, B, both in your place. You don't like the one you don't like goes back. The one you like, you keep. It's that simple. You know? Okay. Any further questions before I get into my spiel? Okay. Here we go in 3, in 2, in 1. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to be going dark for a little while, folks. The reason being I am in the middle of a... They just uploaded a video to the Cinematic Factory. They're trying to get you to buy their stuff. What compressor you prefer for parallel? Okay. Now the question is, okay, maybe I didn't give you guys enough time. Okay, before I get into my thing. Yes, with this regards to the Cinematic Factory tour, yes, people are realizing that Transformers are the way to go again. You know, I got a long story about that as well as tubes. I remember as a kid, I went to an AES NIX a rep at Audio Technica if they would be making a tube microphone, and the guy laughed in my face. I guess I was kind of right. They making tube microphones again. Come on. So, yeah, there's a sweetness that you're going to get. Cinemags are pretty clean. They remind me more of the API stuff. So if you want that clean sound, yeah, you're going to get color out of most of the help me folks. What's the ones that's in Carnhills are going to give you more color. So what compressor you prefer for parallel? I'm not big on parallel processing because I use I record a lot of acoustic music. So parallel processing is like maybe something that's not a big practice when you're recording a lot of acoustic music, because you rely on the performer to have control of their dynamics, be it a drummer, cellist, vocalist, pianist. If you're a skilled musician, you're supposed to be able to play loud and soft. You're supposed to have a good dynamic range, volume wise. But to answer your question, the bus comp is by far a decent, analog, compressor to use if you wanted to use it as a I/O in Pro Tools. You could set up an I/O in Pro Tools and use this, and you're going to get exactly what you want. And I would print that track back out and back into the session. So I would give the bus comp a shot. If you're not looking to spend a lot of money, you can't get any better than this thing, man. You can't get any better right now in the market. You can't get better than that. So, so as I was saying, I'm in the middle of a huge project of which I'm been endowed. I have a NDA that I can't disclose of who the client is, but it's a charitable organization, and I can't disclose of which charity it is. But they give me quite a huge responsibility and a huge budget. So, which is going to take me away from the channel for a moment, not long, but it's going to be both visual and audio. A long time ago, and I had this discussion with my assistant a couple of days ago, and I've said this to many of the young people I come across. It's okay to want to do music if you're one that are called a beat maker. But popular music is not the only way to make money in the music business. That's where people get disillusioned. A couple of years ago, I was in transition as to what direction I was taking my studio in. And one of the directions was to return to recording live acoustic music. That was one goal, as well as to bridge this gap that I had between audio and visual. If so, the YouTube channel. That was how I started. I started with one client doing most of the work pro bono just to get my feet wet in the visual realm. That has come full circle into me now being a full-blown production outfit, providing the client both the audio as well as the visual aspect. Now that end of business is starting to grow, and it has grown to this point where I have this particular client that is giving me a decent budget, and I'm able to, pay people a living wage to come out and do some quality work for me. So quite naturally, I'll be doing more live, connection with you guys, just to keep you in the loop, just to see how you guys are doing, because I'm concerned about, those who take their time out of their schedule to tune in. So I just want to share that aspect with you. The next video that I put up, though, is going to cover the topic of coming out of Pro Tools in a mastering chain and what components you should consider putting in your two-channel mix bus coming out and going into a high def recorder, and why. I think those things are important. I think those things are game changers for anyone who wants to call them a producer. I will say I am the producer of the music for this project is based in Thailand. That much I can't say. I can't say his name, but he is a Thailand-based producer. And the tracks are killing. Now, for the beat makers out there, how do you get tracks that are killing like this guy? How? He's coming out of the box. He's processing out of the box. His tracks have a certain something that is missing from a lot of stuff that I hear on these beat making sites. And like I said before, his musicianship is good. He's a musician. It doesn't hurt to know how to resolve the 5 of 5 in the key of E flat. Doesn't know how hurt to know certain things about rhythm. He has those things on lock, and he has excellent production chops. If so, why the tracks are killing? So with that being said, how does this particular workflow going to happen for me? I have to hire a couple of vocalists to do some studio background vocal work for me. Another thing, we have to do a video mix, which when you're mixing for video, there's a different volume requirement. So I have my assistant on that. I'm sitting in on a couple of the storyboarding sessions for the video. And I'm in charge of hiring a set designer next week. Storyboard artist and I, we're going to sit down next week. I already sat down with the mix engineer for the final video edit of the track. So we, I just had like a sculling sessions. Everything is in its infancy, but here's the caveat. I'm on a tight, like 35-day deadline. Everything has to happen in 35 days. So to say that I have been burning the candle at both ends is an understatement. I have literally been going to bed 3 o'clock almost every night last week, in touch with the executive producer of this entire project. And of course, with that, they want to micromanage every step of the way because it's their money that they're spending, And if, you entrust, and if you're a professional and someone endows and entrusts in you tens of thousands of dollars, it behooves you to take their vision seriously. You know, not only that, it'll speak to your lack of professionalism if you do not. You know, so you know, almost walked away from the project because I didn't know how much latitude I had. They had a vision, and I was like, no, I think you should go back. They come back, no. And then I had to tell them, I was like, I really think you should do it this particular way. If you want me to take it over, they were like, hey, I'd be glad to turn this over to you. I was like, really? I said, okay, well, here's the budget I think you're going to work with. No problem. And if you need more, let me know. The last time I heard that, I was working on a pretty big film with Vivian Ducott. And the person, of course, that was the executive producer of that film, he had a lot of money. But it's good when people want the best. And when you're able to give them the best, that's very, very, very important. You know what I mean? So to say that I am busting my hump is an understatement. I'm going to work my fingers to the bone. And for every person that I have placed a call to, whether it's the background vocalist, whether it's the video editor, the director of photography, you know, I'm responsible for hiring all these people. I expect that from them, you know. And you know, my wife was like, "Oh God, here you. It's dangerous to put you in charge of things." There's just a few things that I require of people. A, be honest with me. Don't BS me. B, if I have a call time of a particular time, don't show up late, because if you show up late, I'm going to be evil. It's that simple. It's that simple. When you're pro, you're supposed to treat things like a professional would be treated. Ahead of time is on time, and on time is late. Show up, be prepared to work. And I pay people a living wage. You know what I mean? I'm paying everybody in this particular production. I'm trying to pay at least $25 to $30 an hour or more. And we're talking about 12-hour days. I'm not paying a mere pittance. And if it falls to under 12 hours, if we accomplish all of our goals, I'll pay you what 12 hours would be worth of work. 12 hours worth of work, even if we did 6 and we accomplish our goals. I don't mind doing that. But I do demand, and as a professional, if you're a pro, you should demand the best of yourself and the best of those who are subordinated to you. Especially if you got a budget, then you're working with somebody else's money. You better, you know. So to say that I am under a lot of pressure is an understatement. About a week ago, someone asked me, how do you handle situations like that? I think in the forum, in the live chat. And I was like, you just got to manage your time. You have to know how much time you have, and you have to manage it well. You know, I didn't say it wouldn't be less than stressful after this. You know, I'm going to see my dad in about a month. We'll be on an island, you know, and I think I'll have a well-deserved vacation of sorts. But you know, it's you got to manage your time, and you got to bust your hump when someone endows responsibility as a professional with you. And I've had this happen more than once in my lifetime. Especially large budgets, you have to deliver. And it's I'm not saying you get all ugly and nasty with people and browbeat folk when they don't do it your way, but if you say to someone, show up on time, it's not wrong to demand that. It's not wrong to demand that a person gives you their best, period. And what I try to do at all times, I always try to give young folks an opportunity, you know, because I was young. Someone gave me a chance once upon a time. So can I hire a seasoned pro? Yes, it'll probably cut deeper into the budget than I will. But if another kid coming along is looking for a chance and an opportunity, and I have the budget, I'm going to give the kid the opportunity. I hope everybody working with me on this project is under 40. I'm the only over 40 person on the project. Okay. Other than the cast and crew that's going to be performing in it as well. I'm the only other over 40 person who's responsible for the technical, visual, and audio aspects of the entire production. Why? Because I believe in young people. I believe that you need to develop a good work ethic. I believe that you need to work hard in order to get where you need to go. You know, I believe that no one gives you anything. No one gave me anything. You know, you have to earn it. You know, you have to do your best at all times. You have to go above and beyond, because that's what sticks with a person, your work ethic. You know, if you show up and every time somebody asks you, you check in your watch, Ain't nobody interested in hiring you because you're a drag to be around. Oh, what time is this over? Is it time for lunch? I had a situation like that where I'm on a session with the person, and first they playing with a puss on their face, and then second, is it time for lunch? Like, are you serious? We're in the middle of going through the second and third take, and you're asking about lunchtime? Never getting hired again. So I mean, don't be a drag to be around. If you're a young person, you're trying to break into the business, the only making beats is not the only way to earn a living. You can do audio for video. There's tons of opportunity out there. Tons. Media is the largest, most developing, um, um, has the largest market potential for the entrepreneur. Think about it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them have turned to video and incorporating video in some way, shape, or form. So with that amount of demand around the world, there has to be a shortage in the supply of producers. That's where you as a young person comes in. Get off the beat making wagon, get yourself some camera equipment, understand how to color grade. It has helped me. Understand how to coordinate and assemble teams. Every video project that I have worked on has paid in spades for me. The checks are a lot larger, a lot larger. And I've done several live DVDs for private clients. The money is there, but no, young people want to just do that, do that. That's a nice hobby. You need a job. You need a job. So if your job and your day job is still sitting behind a mixing console, mixing episodes of a cartoon, I have a friend of mine works at Dubway Studios. They get most of the Cartoon Networks. I think a couple of big producers of some cartoons. I think Clarence or one of them is mixed down at Dubway. And then lately, you know what he's been doing at night? He's been doing these little live videos at Dubway for Warm Audio. What's his bread and butter? His bread and butter is mixing cartoons, mixing commercials, learning how to shoot a commercial. Don't be afraid to say, if you are the big fish in your little town and you're the only guy that knows how to operate a camera, and a little local business says, hey, I got a coffee shop, can you shoot a video? And you say, yeah, no problem, give me $7,000. And they say, oh, okay. You have not, because you ask not. The money is there. So if you're the guy that knows how to get it done, don't be afraid to charge. You can put the fires out later with a couple of $1,000s in your pocket. You can put some fires out later. But if they endow you with that budget, get on it. Get on it. The opportunities are there. Media is a large, hugely developing platform for the potential producer. Like I said, I always use the pyramid principle. That at the top, where everybody wants to do pop music and hip hop, it's very narrow, very narrow. And all in the middle, all that money is in the middle. But no, everybody focusing on here. That's crazy. That's what has sustained me for so many years. And I know so many people in the business. And I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it because this is like literally 1 degree of separation between me and a few people in this business. I'm talking about big time folk. Okay? 1 degree of separation between me and maybe 1 or 2 top performers in the industry. Why? Because I stayed here. Because this is everybody coming from the bottom, got to pass through the middle to get to the top. You got to pass through the middle. So why are you not focusing on where all the money is? If your job is to be, if your goal is to be happy at your work, then find a way to make yourself happy. Making beats is ultra competitive, ultra saturated, and when you have a large saturation of of a large concentration rather of many people doing one thing, you have to find a way to differentiate yourself, or guess what? You will die trying to get that little sliver of food at the top. That's the best advice I could give the young people. That's why I surround myself with young folk. It's my assistant's like, okay, well, I'm like, don't model what I'm doing. Have greater aspirations. The world is open to you guys. You know, I built my business. I'm ready to retire. You know what I'm saying? A brother ready to like I said, but I'm developing this aspect of my business. Of it, my son is involved in it. You know, he's an excellent photographer. You know, and involved in videography. He has a huge Instagram following. Me, not so much, but I mean, that's his thing. You know, he travels photographing. He's now working as an event photographer for the Brooklyn Nets. Media is there for the taking. Take it. Get the money. You know, get the money. It's there. You know, they need content producers. It's nothing wrong with that being your day job. What's wrong with that? You're a content producer. Okay. You do commercials in a day. At night, you strike gold with that. Bam, you're good. Okay. And I'm a musician, first and foremost. Been one for many, many, many years. But I know that most of my friends that come off the tours, okay, and I have had several friends of mine that have done big tours in their life. That tour money evaporates, B. Quick. You making like 100 grand on a world tour, that money evaporates. What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You gotta work some kind of way. The lights got to stay on. Food got to go in your belly. What you gonna do? You better have a plan B. Or you gonna be driving Uber Eats or bagging groceries at the corner store or something. Or you gonna be a stick-up kid. You're gonna be knocking old people in the head for they monthly check. Something. Desperate times are gonna call for desperate measures. So it makes sense that if Inc. magazine and Forbes are saying that there's not enough content producers, content goes around the world. So my brother from Greece. I mean, how have we connected if it were not for YouTube? How are we, everybody in the chat right now, connected if it were not for YouTube? We are in varying places around the world. But look at what YouTube has given us, an opportunity to share with one another, right? So I'm saying that to say this. Young people, you want a career in media, it's there for the taking. It just takes a little bit of creativity, a lot of thinking, and strategizing. If where you are weak, find someone who can balance out your weaknesses with that strength. Move forward, create content, because even Vivo, music is a visual and audio thing. Think about it. You're making beats. Who's shooting the video? Okay. Don't rob yourself, man. That money is there. Go get it. Do I still play? Absolutely. Sure. When I can. I practice every day. I still love playing. I still love composing. That's who I am at my core, a musician. But right now I'm on a project that is going to require me to, I still practice every day, but it's going to take me away from you guys for a second. But at the same time, it's providing for me and my family. It's allowing me to achieve that goal that I had set of building this area and of my business. So it's a win-win for me. I'm just trying to impart advice that to ignore a market that is screaming for content producers is foolish. You're leaving money on the table. It's that simple. You're leaving money on the table. You understand? So to each his own. I hope that helps somebody. I hope I was able to inspire someone to get out there and, like I said, get a camera. Use your iPhone. Get your iPhone. Dabble. Share your perspective of the world. I'm sharing mine right now on YouTube. You know, I'm not trying to be no great big giant Casey Neistat YouTube. No, that's not my goal. My goal is to get here and share what I know and hopefully inspire someone to go out and get that. And if I've done that, I've done a lot. I've made my money, folks. I've made my money. Really. I've been at this a long time. I've made lots and lots of money. And like I said, I'm ready to retire, and I can retire well. And I want the young people that are coming up to do the same, but you must strategize. If you aim at nothing, you will hit nothing every time. And it'll be a sad thing to know that the world was your oyster and you failed to go out and fish. And now here you are sitting 40, 50, 60 years old talking about, I'm about to buy the cookbook, 10 ways to prepare Alpo because I don't have no money to eat. That's crazy. The money's on the table. Forbes said it. Inc. magazine said it. Strategize. Learn more than one thing. I'm not saying be a jack of all trades, but you got to get your roots sunk somewhere so you can survive. Because if not, then yeah, when you reach retirement age, or God forbid, if something should happen to you, you know, or happen to your family, you need to be able to go in your pocket and help them. You can't help them if you're still trying to make it with a minimum wage job with hopes and dreams of scoring the first beat that got you a Grammy. So I hope that helps somebody, man. I'm just sharing you my world, you know, and the money is there for the taking. If you take it, you know, you got to want it. You got to want it because it's right there on the table. Aaron Magnolia says, yeah, man, God is great. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's a whole other topic, but yes, he is. Media is if not one of America's, look, see, right. Alvin Mitch says media is if not one of America's largest exports. Yep. I had a friend of mine, I can call his name. He's a playwright, Gregory Holtz. Look him up. Playwright, Gregory Holtz. He says, you know what? In America, as a black man and as an actor, you know, I get no love, not no love from Broadway, off Broadway, or Hollywood. Every time I go to Africa, I'm treated like a king. And I'm not talking about a king in the sense of word. King in sort of every time you go to Europe or somewhere other than America, people think this is the end all. Like even in Mexico, everybody, I mean, in America, we have this attitude of like, if it's not American music, or it's, you know, if it's not pop music, then it is underappreciated. Do you realize in other countries how hungry they are for what it is you know? How many very talented producers of content there are in Mexico, in South Africa, in Uganda, in Europe? So yeah, that money is not just here, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So you got to go and get it, you know? Like I said, to each his own. But if the money is there, the money is there. You got to find a way to survive in this business, man. You can't, there's no one person. Okay, let's just use this as an example. Beyonce. Beyonce makes a boatload of money, as does Jay-Z. Is all of his money tied up in just music? Nope. In other businesses. Because once the curtain comes down on that aspect and that chapter of their life, life goes on. So the same thing happens with all of us. We enter new seasons of our lives. So it's like, well, what are you doing next? And I can tell you, man, I know so many people that have done large world tours, multiple continent tours, that today they are playing local gigs in the bar for probably $50 because that's all they know how to do. you know. And on the opposite side of that, I know people that have done world tours that have degrees in music that said, okay, well, when I come off the road, I know I can do an artist in residence at said college. You got to have a plan. You can't be like, just because you can share guitar and you nasty, and then somebody hires you to do a world tour and you think like, I've arrived. You arrived, all right. Like I know that 100 grand, you better take 50 of that $100,000, because some of these knuckleheads don't even pay taxes on the money. They get a 1099 at the end of the year saying that they got paid 100-something thousand dollars and they paid no taxes. Now you evading taxes, and you got this huge burden on your shoulders of paying tax now. You better take it and invest some of that money, because 10 years goes by quick. 30 turns to 40, turns to 50. Next thing you know, you 50 years old, you got the IRS breathing down your neck for their tax money. That's just stupid. Makes no sense at all. You got to plan for your future. So yes, I surround myself with a whole lot of 30-year-olds, because they get the same treatment that I give my own kids. It's that simple. You can't spend every nickel you get. You must plan for your future. If you earn enough money, you put 15% aside so that you could plan for a rainy day. You must have a rainy day fund, because unexpected expenses happen. It's that simple. So for those of you looking for careers in this business, media is an option. It's an option. Whether you have a grand idea in your mind to get something done, do it. It's that simple. Just do it. You don't know who will appreciate it. I started out on YouTube with 0 subscribers, just like everybody else, and now I'm able to appreciate being with you guys right now. Any successful investment tips? Laugh out loud. Real estate, period. When okay, here's a good story. In 1995, you all see this plaque. Oh, you can't see it. Well, the plaque that's right here, this plaque was the very first time I started a record label, Paradise Music Group, and that was dedicated to promoting independent gospel artists at the time, and it did very well. I mean, we had a distribution deal with Great Bay Music. It was part of the indie system. That was when I learned about marketing. My wife was doing radio promotion, and we built a successful label. Now, success is measured in different ways. Did we win Grammys? Nope. Did we get gold records? Nope. But 15,000 CDs sold will put a nice little piece of change in your pocket. So, what do you do with that money other than pay your taxes? Buy some real estate. That's what we did. We bought some real estate, and it has appreciated over time, and we can retire very well. It's that simple. You got to have a plan for your future. 10 years comes quick. We laugh now. My wife and I, we laugh. Well, remember when we were 40? Yeah. Guess what? Not 40 no more. Okay. So, I mean, you got to think about your future, and that's what we thought about. Every project was a stepping stone. Like when we did the first record for Paradise, PMG rather, it was introducing a lot of artists. And from that, several artists were spun off. I was in the middle of writing and arranging for Angela's record and a whole lot of other artists' records. But we were young then, and it was the first record. And we knew that, there were a whole lot of gospel artists like Daryl Dolman, who was another one I worked with, who has gone on to very successful careers. There was a time, if you sold 10,000 CDs at $17 dollars, which was about $15 to $17. Some people would charge 20 at a gig. 10,000 that's a lot of money. People was having careers, touring careers, just being little indie artists, selling. This sustenance was selling CDs. So I mean, you sell 10,000, you plan your next project, you come to me to record it, I'm living, you living. It was a cycle. And then I started the label, and out of the label, my wife started radio promotion and publicity company. And from that, I mean, it was like one thing spins off to the next, you know. So after that, we was like, okay, well, we got to plan for our future. What was our plan? Our plan was to buy real estate. So God bless us, and we got into a couple of good real estate deals, and now we're fine. I don't, you know, with the help of God, I don't have to worry about eating alpo. You know, that's a blessing. It's not because I'm bright and it's like, oh, Warren's very smart. No, 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 no. I just think about things in detail and know that tomorrow comes and that you need to have a plan for your future. It's that simple. You know, so like I said, if I can inspire young people to reach for what's available to them, go for it. You know, any further questions? If we want to return to talking about audio, any audio related questions? And we've talked about life, we've talked about what I'm about to get into, so that's over now. Any other questions with regards to gear? Nope. Okay, I will wait, and if not, then I will sign off. But it's been good talking to you guys. The bus comp, we'll find a home somewhere in here. My NEVE 1073 has come home to Papa. It was out on loan to a friend of mine. Yeah. So he's come home to Papa. And there's gonna be some rearranging that I'm trying to get done with the live room, and I gotta hire a contractor to knock down the wall, amongst other things. Then I have to hire a heating and air conditioning guy. So money is about to be spent, money that I don't want to spend, but yes. Depth perception is essential. This is always great. Please don't stop the live streams if you can. Much appreciated. Oh man, listen, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that, bro. Honestly. Star Studio, last question. No, but Alavon. I appreciate you saying that. Really, man, because I'm the stupid one that wants people to succeed. In this business, if folks ain't cheating you or screwing you over, they trying to find another way to backbite, and I'm not about that. I've never been about that. Maybe that's to a detriment. I have a very good friend of mine that's in business too, and he'll say to my face, he'll say, I never looked at you like a competitor, yet the stuff, his actions speak differently. And I'm like, we're supposed to be friends, So I mean, I don't sweat the small stuff, but if I can help somebody, hey man, that's what I'm here for. That's what YouTube is for. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, I ain't trying to be no big YouTuber. No, if it happens, good, thank God. But if not, then connecting with you guys is just as good, man. It's like we a couple of folks sitting around having a chat, and that's what's most important. Because the same chats we're having now, I have with all my young people that I come in touch with. The DP and I, we've gone back. We've done a few projects together, so I know out of these relationships, I introduce one to the other. It's a cycle. So if I'm helping you and yeah, this information, you're gonna pay it forward some kind of way. When you have your measure of success, whether you're sharing with me or whether you're sharing it with the world, we all put here on this earth for a reason, so go for it, man. I'm glad I can help. Last question. Star Studios. John says, what is your new setup going to look like? Summing or gear-wise? New setup. Okay, here's the idea. New setup for me would be the Dangerous 2 Bus Plus into incorporating a liaison. That's at least $5,000 right there. Incorporating the mix chain that I have currently with the liaison out of that system into a high def recorder, and that's what gets delivered off to not to mastering, to iTunes or Spotify. That's the ideal. Will it pan out that way? No, but I know I'm definitely starting out probably with the dangerous. Oh, and I think I didn't even say this, but the reason why uh, I'm second guessing the NEVE summing mixer, as much as I like it and as much as it has almost everything I need in terms of a summing mixer could have, they are using some bad capacitors in their summing mixers, man. And the once a capacitor goes bad, they got it soldered onto a board in a way that's not easy to desolder these things to get them to be replaced. So what NEVE has been doing with these these channels that have gone bad or have bad capacitors in them, they've been saying, hey, for $800 more, we could swap out the logic board for you. Come on. I don't want this headache 10 years. I mean, you spend $4,000 for a summing mixer that does everything you need to do, and then here 10 years later, after you don't put wear and tear on it, you got a bad channel. You got a dead channel because the capacitor is dead. No, I don't need that headache. So I like the build of, and plus the AMS people are in England, which means there's a financial exchange problem. I've been with this headache from the Dynaudio days, from buying European equipment. You got to consider the exchange rate of the dollar to whatever currency. That screws you. So I don't need that headache, man. So I think I'm gonna stick with the dangerous stuff. It's built in America. You know, it looks like it's well made, and I don't think I should have any problems with it. Star Studio says, regarding analog mixes, which one is best? Tascam, Allen and Heath, or Soundcraft? I've had a Tascam. I've had an Allen and Heath, which I loved, and a Soundcraft. If I had to pick one today, if you're buying new, I would buy a Soundcraft first. Why? Because I pretty much like the way their EQ sound. If it was 22 years ago, 25 years ago, I probably would choose an Allen and Heath first because I like the way their EQ sounded at the time. But I've had a Tascam, and Japanese EQ technology and console technology is a lot different from British, which Soundcraft and Allen and Heath are. So if you want that British sound, I would reach for Soundcraft first, followed by Allen and Heath, British, Japanese, Tascam. You can't go wrong, but your ears have to be the final judge. John, is this Dangerous 2 Bus Plus a clean sounding summing amp? Yes, it is. It is. You see, the disillusionment with summing mixes, people think that plugging stuff into a summing mixer is going to magically create great mixes. No, that's not how they are used. A summing mixer is a mixer, period. You're coming out 16 channels, but when you're doing that, what is the purpose? How are you processing those signals? I know Dangerous suggests that you return it back to Pro Tools, but I don't know, man. I got to get out of the box. If I'm going out into a summing mixer, I'm going all the way out. Go all the way out into another recorder. After you process with your EQ and compression, and you will, I guarantee it, you will hear a difference. If you're using a liaison as well, here's the ideal. The 2 bus with a liaison with a actual bus compressor of your choice, EQ of your choice, and the Lexicon PCM 80 or 70 to sweeten the mix. Or even an Alesis quadriverb. I've had a couple of those in my day. Even that as a EQ. You tell me how that mix sounds after that. I'm telling you, once you experience it both ways, your ears are going to go up and you're going to be like, I'm never going back again. I'm never going back. It's that simple. Because that's where I started, you know. And now I've spent the last 12 years in the box. It's like, nah, I got to get out. Because this is, I mean, it sounds great. Don't get me wrong. Pro Tools sounds great by and large. But I think coming out of the box is going to do something more to my mixes. And I mean, I know that from just using Pro Tools back in the day as a recorder. I did. It would come out. I had only 8 channels with the I don't know if I showed you the last time. I had a Digi 001 back in 2000, something like that, before I got the HD system. And coming out of that into a board, just using it and letting all the other processing happen in the board, I was happy with the way that sounded because I was using all the outboard processing, outboard compressors, the EQ from the board. I was using that and coming out into a 2-track. So I had that perspective in mind. It's already burned in. The sound has been burned into my long-term memory. Just like we were talking about the 47. I know what a 47 sounds like from having had that experience. It's just like virginity, folks. It ain't no different. Once you lose your virginity, the whole landscape changes. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You return to that perspective. I mean, to use that as an analogy. Once you had that experience, you don't miss what you don't have. So quite naturally, the kids coming up today, they only have mixing in the box as a perspective. The minute they break that mix out on a NEVE console and experience a mix from that perspective, it's going to be like, wow, they'll never go back. They'll never go back. I'm telling you, that's the experience that I've had. We go on. Okay. Is it dangerous to Bus Plus a clean sounding something? Oh, I answered that question. All right. So any further questions? I will wait a few moments. And other than that, I will wrap for today. If anyone has any further questions. Bus comp. Oh, one other thing about the bus comp. I don't know if this person has perused this DJ Quick. Okay, DJ Quick. You must be in New York and you know DJ Quick mixing records is you for. All right. My brother, you know who DJ Quick is. That's right, sir. I'm new to recording. Okay. And then I'm gonna address the DJ Quick thing in a minute though. I'm new to recording, says John. You're saying you're going to print the mix out of Pro Tools. Yes. Yes. I don't know how new you are to recording, but see, your perspective as a newcomer is going to be from the perspective of what Pro Tools has offered you. My perspective of recording has come from having to record 24 tracks on 2-inch tape, then going to ADAT, 24 channels of ADAT, all 24 of those channels coming out of the recorder into 24 channels on a desk, of which you did your mix. If you had automation, good. If you didn't, then that became a problem for you. Going out of the board into a dedicated 2-track recorder, that's what you would take to the mastering house, the actual 2-inch, quarter-inch or 1-inch tape for mastering. I'm going back to that because I know what that sounds like. That is the perspective that I've spent many years, my ears rather have spent many years under. That's my perspective. I'm saying for a person like yourself, what device is going to capture the file? I'll answer your second question in a minute. But my thing is for yourself is give your ears a chance to hear it from two sides. Mix it in the box and mix it outside of the box. It doesn't necessarily, you said what device is going to capture the final mix. It can be anything. Don't get me wrong. You don't necessarily have to have a high-def Tascam recorder. It can be even coming out into like one of these. Let me show you as an example. Like a little Tascam recorder like this one. Has XLRs in the bottom. Just come out and go into here. Record the mix. After being processed, whether using this, and a Lexicon or whatever the case may be, and compare. Do the same exact type of mix with plugins in Pro Tools. And let your ears be the guide. You're going to like one or the other. One is going to provide you more depth than the other. From my perspective, it's always been the analog coming out mix. And like I said, like I was talking to my assistant, he's about 36 years old. It doesn't bother him one way or the other. It's like, I'll mix in the box. I'm like, you know why you're able to say that? It's because you haven't been afforded the perspective of sitting behind a desk and hearing that spatial thing happen, you know, from a 360-degree perspective. Let that happen to you, and then it may change the way you mix, is what I'm saying. Adding a summing mixer is not necessarily the answer. And I think that's where the perception of summing mixers gets skewed. And it's part of the fault of marketing at like places like Dangerous and other people. They make you think that it's the end all be all, but it's not. It's the processing that takes place post summing, outside of the box, going somewhere else, coming back in. Once you know, even if you're using another little 2-channel unit or a 2-channel interface, once you have all that processing happening to your liking, it's going to introduce a different perspective to you. I'm saying give yourself a chance to experience that perspective before you decide, I only like to use in the box mixing. That's what I'm saying. You know, so if you approach it from that perspective, then you know you should be fine. What device do you recommend to capture the mix? I'm going with the Tascam unit, only because I'm doing more acoustic music, and with acoustic music you have a lot of dynamics, you know, from soft passages to maybe very louder passages. What can happen in the softer passages is that detail can get lost if the resolution is not high enough. And don't forget that there's some processing that takes place from on iTunes and Spotify that you need to account for. So if you start out with a low resolution coming out of the box, let's just say, okay, I recorded at 48 and I'm going out and the exported track is going to be at 48K, and then here comes iTunes and they do their processing to it and it lowers the resolution. Or Spotify, they do their processing to it and it lowers the resolution. You started out at 48, you might wind up somewhere else, which is when you listen to it, and you will listen, you're going to be like, it doesn't sound the same like when I mix it in the box. There's a reason why. iTunes had to process it. So why not give yourself the opportunity to come out of the box, even if you recorded it at 48K and you got the mix tight, come out. Go into your recorder at 96, 192. So at least if they have to do their processing on it, nothing is lost in terms of quality. You know, Spotify has to do their processing on it, nothing is lost. You know, give yourself the chance to not have that happen to the mix by coming out of the box, is what I'm saying. You know, does analog to digital converters make a big difference? Yes. Let nobody fool you. Let nobody fool you. And see, this is again where where Pro Tools has gotten everybody strung out on just this one perspective. You know, don't forget the one that's got the mic, I'm speaking metaphorically, controls the message. Because if you're at home and you're doing everything yourself, you don't get out to go to a mastering studio and hear it from a I mean, I'm not talking about Pookie in the mastering studio. I'm talking about you get out and you go to like a Sterling Sound, or you go to a Frankfurt Wayne or Sony mastering, and you sit in the environment and listen to your mix and listen to them shape it. It's going to change your perspective. How can it not? High-end converters kill. I mean, it's like, oh. But what I'm saying is that they're going to take your 48K file and they're going to feed it in at 192. You're not losing resolution coming out of the analog. You're going to go into a better converter at a higher sampling rate, because they know that the end result is that it has to wind up on iTunes and Spotify, and they have to do processing to it. So imagine, if you will, if you, like I said, you recorded 44.1, you export, and I think iTunes requirement, someone can correct me, if I remember the spec, even at 192, they have to bring it down to 44, unless it's mastered for iTunes. I know there's a high def requirement. I'm gonna have to look up the documentation, but I know that there's a high definition requirement that they have, and I know that they do some processing to it. Anytime, just like audio coming over YouTube, anytime you're hearing it, it's been processed. Streaming audio has been processed, because you got to think about how many kilobits are coming through that, feed in your house. So if you're already compromised with a 44.1K file, and you're being, subjected to streaming's requirement, it's not going to sound the same as when it first came out the computer. So that's why it's making sense for me, as I'm doing more acoustic music, to up the sampling resolution. As long as your converters are decent, there are a whole lot of companies that, have decent enough converter technology. Analog, which are great. MyTech is another company. MyTech with the Brooklyn edition. Apogee, even the old Apogee's Rosetta 200s, 182, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Crane Song Head Quantum is one of my favorite at the moment. Yes, yeah, Crane, yeah, yes, sir. So I mean, as long as you have quality in the chain, that's the main thing. Got to maintain quality every step of the way. It's the same thing as when I'm just using the same thinking that I had when I was, mixing an analog. If you had one little cheap component in the chain, it compromised the sound and the integrity that you were going to wind up with on 2 tracks. Tape, that is. So the object is to maintain that every step of the way. And like I said, I mean, Tascam's converters sound very, very good. Don't sleep on them. The DA3000 and that new one that they have out. Let me see. I'll get you the exact name of this recorder. I'm going to go on Sweetwater real quick. Let's see where you at. Let me see. Go. Tascam DA3000. And yes, the Tascam DA3000 stereo master recorder. Look that up. I'm telling you, you can't go wrong. The thing records 24-bit, and yes, it does DSD as well. Which is high res streaming. So that's a worthwhile investment. Recording at 192, you got to think that you're going to go through some measure of truncation in terms of your quality of the audio as it gets handed off to these different streaming services. So do yourself a favor and try and, record out, if you can, at as high a resolution, because you're going to lose resolution over time. Okay. John says, thank you. You are most welcome, my brother. I appreciate you tuning in. And if there are no further questions, I'll give 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in today. I'm going to go dark, but I will post. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Ah, you crazy. Stay sanitized, my brother. Hey, listen, man, I'm about to go out of this country pretty soon, and I'm telling you, next month, but no, April, yeah, I'm leaving the country. So, yeah, brother needs some prayers, man. I'm going to be on that plane with a mask. I don't care. I'm telling you, I ain't playing, Jack. Nah, this coronavirus thing is no joke. So, yes, a brother will stay sanitized, Thanks a lot. Star Studio. Yes, you're welcome, brother. I appreciate you tuning in, man, really. And would the new recorder need a computer? No, because I think with this, it records to the little these little SD cards. Go figure that, right? You could record audio on something that tiny. Yeah, so you record to the SD cards, and you can stick that in the computer if you need to do any editing. Like if you needed to create a DDP file for CD replication, you could do that with the file. So yeah, man, I mean, I'm looking forward to the way the system will sound. Like I said, now that I'm doing a lot more acoustic music, and yeah, I got to maintain the integrity all the way through the chain. Even with this new project that I'm working on with the video, for this corporate client. Yeah, I got to keep the quality high all the way through. No more of this dilly-dallying around with trying to bounce stuff out of Pro Tools. No, those days are over. I can't do it. And I can't. I'm tired of giving Avid money, man. Don't get me started with that. But I'm not. I can't. I was like, you on Pro Tools 12? Nope. Sorry, Avid. I've given them $15,000 for HD2 system, not more than 13 years ago. So they got enough money out of Warren, and it's serving me well. Nothing's broken. I'm gonna come out, like I said, out of the box into this high-res recorder. $900 versus 15,000 for, or whatever they want to do the exchange program with Avid. I'm gonna pay them another 5,000. Oh God, don't get me started. Listen, that's another rabbit hole. But safe travel, says John. Thank you, man. I thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll be reporting back. And thank you all for stopping in. Thank you for stopping by. And please say hello to the family for me.